Okay, my friends, I am not gonna lie to you. I haven't read this book in a while, so I don't really remember. What was the last poem we ended on? But it's okay. Lana's poems are to die for. We can read them again. But first, I am in love with the tapping. This book makes. So I'm going to take the paper cover off. I'm going to tap for just a little bit. That's so good. I love it. My favorite tapping of all time. Okay, but you guys didn't come here to tap with me. You guys came here to listen to the love of my life poems. Okay. So this is, by the way, let me do some tracing here. Ooh, you guys can't see that much. Okay. Violet. Bend. Over the grass. Violent background over the grass. By Lana Del Rey, of course. Okay. So let's go to a page. I'm wondering if we read Tessa. You know what? We can read Tessa again. So Tessa Di Pietro. I think we read this, but it's okay. No one ever touched me without wanting to kill me, except for a healer on 6th Street and Ridgely. Tessa Di Pietro, recommended casually by a medium I no longer know. She said my number one problem was my field, was untrusting. When asked what to do, she paused and said, nothing, which sent me right into uncontrollable sobbing. Because there's never anything you can do about the important things. She said, okay, one thing you can do is picture the floor rising up to support you and sink into the back of the bed that's behind you. Too much of your energy is right in front of you and above you. Which, for some reason, made me think of a live show I had seen Jim Morrison at the Hollywood Bowl, 1968. Check date. The blue trellis lights gave him an unusual aura, like a halo or something. Made him 8 feet or taller. I remember just thinking he looked out of his body, but definitely like a god on stage. So I told her, maybe an artist has to function a little bit above themselves if they really want to transmit some heaven. Then she told me, singleness of focus is the key to transmission, for an emphasis on developing inner intuition. Close your eyes and feel where you hold your attention. If it's in the back of your eyes, walk it down to your heart center and make that new place from which your thoughts enter. Clairvoyance comes mostly from the simple function. Oh, and Jim died at 27. So find another frame of reference when you're referencing heaven. And did you ever read the lyrics to People Are Strange? He made no sense. We definitely read that one. I love how, vintage all of her shit is. Gosh. You can never get enough of Lana Del Rey. Okay. Past the bushes, cypress thriving. I saw you in the mirror. You are wearing your hair differently, carrying the air differently. You say you want your hair long, part in the middle, long in solidarity, worn for all his women. Long Beach, aimless. Your fingers wiping oil on the paper with precision. With decision like an artist never seen yet, with a vision, with a reason, started with venom at the ceiling, not the grass, but straight ahead, just at the skyline, with precision, laser vision. Time was stopping you, moving through you. You dictated by what moved you. Only moving, never talking. Match the sun that's slowly sinking at the height of afternoon in the heat of summer evening. Like a phoenix, like a chemtrail, like a wavelength no one's claiming. Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia Peaches. Doing nothing but your painting. Forever forget tight teachers. Forgive him for ever leaving. Love is rising. No resisting. Cheeks are flushing. Now you're living. Say goodbye now. No resisting. Live your life like no one's listening. Be the art that life is breathing. Be the soul the world is living. Do what you want for you only. Not forgiving, just for taking. No one's listening. At the end of Lime and 10th Street, down the road that's green and winding, past the bushes, cypress thriving, past the chain link fence and driving, further down the road, less traveled, there you are, at leisure wear, unraveled. Now I see you clear, standing stoic blue in denim, eyes not blue, but clear like heaven. You don't want to be forgotten, you just want to disappear. That's such a beautiful photo. Wow. Oh, this is a very dense book or poem. Okay. Sport Cruiser. I took a flying lesson on my 33rd birthday. Instead of calling you or parking on the block where our old place used to be. Genesee. Pathetic, I know. But sometimes I still like to park on that street and have lunch in the car just to feel close to you. I was once in love with my life here. In that studio apartment with you. Little red, little yellow flowers on the tops of trees as our only view out of the only window, big enough for me to see our future through. But it turned out I was the only one who could see it. Stupid apartment complex, terrible you who I wait for. You. Like a broken record stuck on loop. So that day on my birthday, I thought something has to change. It can't always be about waiting for you. Don't tell anyone. But part of my reasoning for taking the flight class was this idea that if I could become my own navigator, a captain of the sky, that perhaps I could stop looking for direction from you. Well, that started off as an idea on a whim, has turned into something more too shy to explain to the owners that my first lesson was just a one-time thing. I've continued to go to classes each week at the precious little strip off of Santa Monica and Bundy, and everything was going fine. We were starting with dips and loops, and then something terrible happened. During my fourth lesson in younger than I, but as tough as you, instructed me to do a simple maneuver. It's not that I didn't do it, but I was slow to lean the sports cruiser into a right-hand upward turn. Scared that I would lose control of the plane. Not tactfully, not gently. The instructor shook his head, and without looking at me, he said, "You don't trust yourself." I was horrified, feeling as though I had somehow been found out. Like he knew me. He knew how weak I was. Of course, he was only talking about my ability as a pilot in the sky, but I knew it was meant for me to hear those words. For me, they held a deeper meaning. I didn't trust myself, not just 2,500 feet above the coast of Malibu, but with anything, and I didn't trust you. I could have said something, but I was quiet because pilots aren't like poets. They don't make metaphors between life and the sky. In the midst of this midlife meltdown navigational exercise and self-examination, I also decided to do something else I always wanted to do. Take sailing lessons in the vibrant bay of Lana Del Rey. I signed up for the class as Elizabeth Grant, and nobody blinked an eye. So why was I so sure that when I walked into the tiny shack on the Ballyway, someone would say, "You're not a captain of a ship or a master of the sky"? No, the fishermen didn't care, and so neither did I. And for a brief moment, I felt more myself than ever before, letting the self-proclaimed drunkard captain's lessons wash over me like the foamy tops of the sea. Midway through, my forehead burned and my hands raw from jibing. The captain told me the most important thing I would need to know on sea. Never run the ship into irons. That's nautical terms for not sailing the boat directly into the wind. In order to do that, though, you have to know where the wind is coming from. And you might not have time to look to the mast or up farther the weather vane. So you have to feel where the wind is coming from on your cheeks and by the tips of the white waves, from which direction they're rolling. To do this, he gave me an exercise. He told me to close my eyes and asked me to feel on my neck which way the wind was blowing. I already knew I was going to get it wrong. The wind is coming from everywhere. I feel it all over, I told him. No, he said. The wind is coming from the left, the port side. I sat waiting for him to tell me, "You don't trust yourself." I don't trust myself. He laughed, gentler than the pilot, but still not realizing that my failure in the exercise was hitting me at a much deeper level. "It's not that you don't trust yourself," he said. "It's simply that you're not a captain. It isn't what you do." Then he told me he wanted me to practice every day so I would get better. "Which grocery store do you go to?" he asked. "To the Ralphs in the Palisades," I replied. "Okay, when you're at the Ralphs or in the Palisades, I want you, as you're walking from your car to the store, to close your eyes and feel which way the wind is blowing. Now, I don't want you to look like a crazy person crouching in the middle of the parking lot, but everywhere you go. I want you to try to find which way the wind is coming from and then determine if it's from the port or starboard side. So when you're back on the boat, you'll have a better sense of it." I thought his advice was adorable. I could already picture myself in the parking lot, squinting my eyes with perfect housewives looking on. I could picture myself growing a better sense of which way the wind was blowing. As I did, a tiny bit of deeper trust also began to grow within myself. I thought of mentioning it, but I didn't. Because captains aren't like poets. They don't make metaphors between the sea and the sky. And as I thought that to myself, I realized that's why I write. All of this circumnavigating the earth, was to get back to my life. 6 trips to the moon for my poetry to revise. I'm not a captain. I'm not a poet. I write. That was so good. Lana Del Rey. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me today with the one and only, Violent but Backwards Over the Grass. Thank you so much for